This warthog is lying on his side with his eyes closed, while 22 small predators walk on his face. He weighs 170 pounds. Each of them weighs 3. Instead, he lifts a front leg so they can reach into his armpit. 40 minutes later, the same 22 animals will drive him off a termite mound, screaming, biting his ankles, and he will run from them. Same animals, same morning, same piece of ground. Nothing changed between those two events except where he was standing. Have you ever seen two species groom each other at breakfast and go to war before lunch? Stay with this one. By 6 o'clock this evening, you will know exactly what these two animals owe each other, and it is not friendship. Here is what it looks like at 10 past 8. Choppa comes out of an aardvark hole backwards, the way he always does. He walks 40 yards to a bare patch of red earth beside the Mongooses mound, and then he does the one thing no prey animal should ever do.
He lies down. He rolls onto his side, stretches his neck out flat, and shuts his eyes. Within 9 seconds, there are 11 banded mongooses on him. They go for the ears first, then the folds behind the front legs, then the eyelids. One of them stands on his cheekbone to reach the corner of his eye, and he does not flinch. Another works the groin, where the skin is thin and the ticks are fattest. He grunts once, low, and shifts his back leg to open the angle for them. For 11 minutes, a 170-pound animal lies blind and flat on open ground in full daylight. He is the most vulnerable he will be all day, on purpose, and he arranged it himself. His name here is Choppa. He is a male common warthog in his 6th year, about 170 pounds, which makes him large but not remarkable. He has 4 tusks, and only 2 of them are weapons. The upper pair curve out and up, blunt and thick, and they are shields. They take the hit.
The lower pair are shorter, 6 inches, and they are honed to an edge every time he closes his mouth, because they grind against the upper pair all day long. A warthog does not sharpen his knives. He sharpens them by chewing. Those lower tusks will open a leopard from the brisket to the shoulder, and every leopard in this district has already worked that out. Everything else about him is built wrong on purpose. He is heavy at the front and light at the back, which is the shape of an animal that pushes rather than one that runs. His eyes sit high on the skull so he can watch the grass line while his mouth is in it. He carries almost no fat, under 2%, which means he cannot skip meals and cannot survive a cold night in the open. Everything he does in a day is arranged around those 2 shortages. So is everything he puts up with. Start with the eating, because it explains the position he was lying in. His neck does not reach the ground.
The grass he wants is the short stuff, the new growth an inch off the soil, and his mouth cannot get to it standing up. So he folds his front legs under him and walks on his wrists. He grazes on his knees for 4 to 6 hours a day, every day of his life. The skin over those wrists is not skin anymore. It is a pad of hard callus, thick as a boot sole. A piglet 3 days old already has the beginnings of it, before it has ever needed it. That is how old this arrangement is. The body starts building for it before the animal is born. He pays for every meal with his joints, and there is no other way for him to eat. Kneeling costs him something that has nothing to do with joints. On his knees, head down, chin in the grass, he cannot run from a standing start. He has to get his front legs under him first, and that takes about 1.5 seconds. 1.5 seconds is the entire margin between a warthog and a lioness, and he spends 6 hours a day inside it. So he needs 2 things he cannot produce himself. He needs a hole in the ground he did not dig, and he needs somebody watching the horizon while his head is down. Both of those come from other species, and neither of them is doing it for him. Warthogs do not dig burrows. They dig wallows, they root, they turn soil with the nose, but they do not make tunnels. Every tunnel out here was made by an aardvark, and aardvarks are solitary, nocturnal, and gone by sunrise. An aardvark digs a fresh sleeping hole most nights and abandons it in the morning. It has no interest in what happens next, and it never comes back to check. One aardvark leaves behind more real estate in a year than anything else on this landscape builds in a lifetime. There are 11 usable aardvark holes on this square mile. Chapa needs one every single night because he cannot hold his temperature without shelter, and because everything that hunts him hunts in the dark.
He enters backwards, always. And this is not a preference. It is the reason he is still alive. A warthog that goes in head first is a warthog with his back to the door, and there is nothing at that end worth negotiating with. Backwards, he is a wall of shoulder with 2 knives mounted on the front of it, wedged into a tube the exact width of his body. A leopard reaching into that hole is reaching into the one place on Earth where a warthog holds every advantage. He sleeps harder than almost any animal his size because he engineered the door. And in the morning, he does not walk out, he fires out. A warthog leaves a burrow at close to full speed, tail up, dead straight, because the most dangerous 10 feet of his day is the ground immediately outside his own bedroom. Everything that wants to eat him knows where he sleeps. He knows they know. So he does not step out. He detonates. Which brings us to the other tenant of those 11 holes. A banded mongoose weighs 3 pounds and lives in a troop of about 20. This troop is 22, 5 breeding females, 4 adult males, and the rest juveniles and this year's pups. They sleep underground, they move at dawn, and they eat almost nothing but invertebrates. Beetles, larvae, millipedes, snails, ticks. They need a den every night as well, and it has to be a hole a 3-pound animal could never dig for itself. They use aardvark holes and hollow termite mounds, and they change dens every 2 or 3 days to stay ahead of their own parasites. Which means the same 11 holes are on both lists. That is where the war comes from, and it is worth being exact about it. There is nothing personal in it, and there is no history between them. There are 11 holes, 2 species that cannot make holes, and a 170-pound animal who collapses a mongoose den simply by reversing into it. He does not evict them. He does not know they are down there.
He backs in and the roof comes down on a nursery. So the troop has a rule about him, and the rule is not gratitude. When Chapa comes within about 30 feet of the active den, 22 mongooses come out of the ground at once and go straight at him. They do not bite hard. They cannot. Those jaws are built for beetle shells. They bite the ankles and the backs of the legs. They scream at a pitch that carries half a mile, and they simply do not stop. He turns and leaves. Every time. He has never once used the tusks. At 20 to 12, this happens exactly as described. He drifts up the slope toward the mound where he was groomed 3 hours earlier, and the ground erupts. 11 minutes of contact this morning, 9 seconds of contact now, and this time he runs. Watch what he does not do. He does not fight back. One sweep of that lower tusk would end any animal in this troop. He does not brood about it either.
By 12:30, he is grazing 60 yards away with his back to them. 2 species with an absolute mismatch in size have arrived at a border, and the border holds because neither of them is willing to pay what crossing it costs. Now go back to 8 o'clock and explain the other thing. The same troop that mobbed him was eating ticks off his eyelids 3 hours earlier, for 11 minutes, without one aggressive move from either side. This behavior is real, and it is filmed. It has been recorded again and again in Queen Elizabeth National Park in Uganda, where warthogs walk up to mongoose troops and lie down in front of them. The pigs ask for it. They arrive, they go flat, they lift the leg, they hold still. The mongooses climb on and get to work. Nobody trained anybody. Nobody is related to anybody. And here is the part that is easy to miss. Not every troop does this, and not every warthog population does this. It looks local.
In others, it happens every morning, and the young of both species grow up inside it as if it were normal, because to them, it is. That is worth saying plainly, because it means this is not instinct the way a spider's web is instinct. It is something two species worked out in one place and handed down, and it can be lost. So what is actually being traded here, and is it worth what each side pays? Start with the ticks. A warthog in tick country can carry 200 at once, and the ones that matter are not the ones on his back. They are in the ear canal, along the eyelid, inside the elbow, and in the groin, which happen to be the exact 4 places he cannot reach with any part of his own body. He can rub against a tree. He cannot get inside his own ear. 200 ticks feeding continuously pull a real volume of blood out of an animal with no fat reserve, and they carry things that are worse than the blood loss. For an animal that cannot skip a meal, a permanent slow leak is not cosmetic. It is a tax on every day he lives. Now, the mongoose side, which is the part most people get wrong. This is not charity, and it is not cleaning. It is hunting. An engorged tick is a bag of blood with a shell on it, and it is the easiest calorie a 3-pound insectivore will find all day. A mongoose working a pig for 10 minutes takes more protein than the same mongoose gets from 20 minutes of turning over dung. The pig is not a patient. He is a feeding site that walks over to them and lies down. Count it for the morning. The troop takes something like 130 ticks off him in 11 minutes. That is roughly what 4 mongooses would find in an hour of ordinary foraging, delivered to 11 of them at once, standing still in the cool part of the day. Chapa loses 130 parasites and 11 minutes of vigilance.
And those 11 minutes are the real price, and it is far higher than it looks. Think about the posture again. He is on his side, his eyes are shut, his legs are stretched out straight, which is the slowest possible position to stand up from. He is on bare red earth with no cover, in daylight, beside a mound. A warthog on his feet in the open has about 1.5 seconds of margin. A warthog on his side has closer to 4 seconds. He has more than doubled the time it takes to save his own life, voluntarily, most mornings of the year. Why would an animal with no fat, no insulation, and 1.5 seconds of margin ever agree to that? Because of what is standing on the mound while he does it. Banded mongooses post a sentry. Not formally, not always the same animal, but there is nearly always one adult up on something, looking out, while the rest are busy. And a troop this size has 44 eyes with very little else to do. Their alarm call is not for him, it is for them. But it is loud, it is specific, and it carries. A warthog lying on his side with his eyes closed is not defenseless if he is lying inside somebody else's alarm system. He is not being guarded. He is being warned early by animals who would give exactly the same call if he had never shown up. That is the whole trade, and it is invisible from both ends. At 2:20, it works. A spotted hyena crosses the flat 400 yards out, moving through, not hunting. The sentry gives one call, and the entire troop drops into the ground. Chapa is on his knees eating 50 yards away, and he is up on all 4 feet and facing the right direction before he has any idea why. He never sees the hyena. He stands there for 30 seconds with his ears forward, then goes back down on his wrists and keeps eating. He does not know he was warned. He does not know there was anything to be warned about. Nobody built this. It is a small carnivore protecting its own pups, and a large pig reacting to noise. And the noise happens to arrive early. There is no signal here and no cooperation. There is a leak, and he is standing in the path of it. He pays it back the same way, without meaning to. Choppa spends his afternoons rooting. The disc of cartilage on the end of his nose is a spade, and he uses it to turn soil for bulbs, rhizomes, and roots all through the dry season. He works over several hundred square feet of ground a day and leaves it broken, damp underneath, and open. Broken ground is where the beetle larvae, the termites, and the millipedes are. The mongooses work his rooting patches, usually the next morning, and they find more per minute there than anywhere on undisturbed soil. He digs the wallows, too. A warthog wallow is a shallow pit he opens with his nose and his feet and then maintains all season, and it holds water for days after rain.
That pit is the only standing water on this slope for weeks at a time, and every insect and amphibian on this ground concentrates around it. It is not a gift. He needs the mud because he cannot sweat, and when the mud dries and cracks off him, it takes ticks with it. Even his own parasite control leaves food on the ground for somebody else. There is no part of this animal's day that does not feed something that is not him. So, run the day as a ledger and be strict about it. The mongooses got 130 ticks, a rooting patch to work tomorrow, and a wallow full of insects. Choppa got 130 parasites off the 4 places he cannot reach, and 1 early warning he never knew about. The mongooses also ran him off a mound at 20 to 12, and it cost them nothing but a walk. And underneath all of it, both species are standing in the same queue for the same 11 holes. And they always will be.
Which is why calling this a friendship gets it wrong in a way that actually matters. Friendship would mean the mound was shared. It is not shared. It is defended, hard, by the smaller animal, and the larger one respects the line because enforcing his size would cost more than the ground is worth to him. The grooming does not buy him access to anything. He was groomed at 8 and repelled at 20 to 12 on the same square yard of dirt. The 2 behaviors are not connected in either animal's head. That is the genuinely strange thing about this pair. These 2 run 2 completely separate relationships with the same individuals at the same time, and they switch between them based on nothing but location. On the bear patch, he is a food source, and they are a cleaning crew. 30 feet up the slope, he is a structural hazard, and they are 22 alarms with teeth. The border is not a truce. It is a property line, and neither of them knows what a property line is.
There is one more layer here, and it runs the other way. 200 yards east, there is a sow with 3 piglets, 8 weeks old, in a hole she reversed into at dusk. Piglets are the softest thing on this landscape. Roughly half of them do not reach a year. Eagles take them, jackals take them, and the mother is one animal with 2 knives and 3 things to guard. She grazes on her knees the way he does, which puts her on her wrists with her head down, right beside the 3 most stealable objects on this slope. The mongoose alarm covers her as well, and in exactly the same accidental way. The mongoose pups out on the surface with the foraging group are just as stealable as the piglets. The same eagle circling this slope is shopping for both of them. 2 species that fight over holes are pooling their vigilance against the same bird, and neither has the faintest idea it is happening. At 4 o'clock, the bird arrives. A martial eagle comes over the ridge, low, and does not have to flap once. The mongoose sentry sees it first and gives a different call, a shorter one, and every mongoose on the surface is flat or underground in under 2 seconds. The sow hears the shape of the noise change and moves, and the 3 piglets are under her before she has finished turning. Chapa lifts his head out of the wallow and stands absolutely still. The eagle keeps going. Nothing happened. And the reason nothing happened involves 3 animals that never coordinated anything. That is the 4th or 5th time today that this slope has quietly saved somebody. None of those saves were intended by the animal that made them. The system works because it is built out of selfish attention pointed in enough different directions. At 6:30, Chapa starts moving toward the holes. He checks 2 and rejects them. The first has jackal on it, fresh. The second has water standing at the bottom. The third is clean, and it is one the Mongooses used 11 days ago and left. He turns at the entrance and backs in 1 careful foot at a time, and his head is the last thing to go under. He sleeps in a hole an aardvark dug and a mongoose troop kept dry, and neither of them will ever ask him about it. The troop goes down 140 yards away into the mound they defended from him this morning. In 3 days, that mound will be empty, and he will be able to walk straight over the top of it without a single animal coming out of the ground. The border will move, and nobody will mark the change. Count the day for Chapa. 6 hours on his wrists, 11 minutes on his side with his eyes closed. 130 ticks gone. 1 eviction, 2 warnings he never registered, 1 eagle he never saw. Several hundred square feet of ground turned over, feeding animals he does not know exist. He ends the day slightly ahead, which, for a warthog, is the entire objective.
Counted for the troop. A protein windfall in the first hour of the day, a hazard cleared from the nursery before noon, and a fresh rooting patch waiting for them tomorrow. 22 animals went to bed fed because a large, slow-looking pig kept doing exactly what he was always going to do. And here is the number that decides everything. The pig can survive without the mongooses. It costs him blood, and it costs him some early warnings, but warthogs live in plenty of places where no mongoose has ever groomed anything. The mongooses can survive without the pig, but they lose the richest hour of their feeding day. The dependency runs unevenly in both directions, and both of them behave as if it is not there at all. That is exactly what makes it stable. Nothing this loose can break. The strongest arrangements out here are the ones nobody is holding together. A partnership that needs maintenance fails the first week one side has a bad run. This one has no maintenance and no memory. It runs on 2 facts that never change. A tick is food, and a nursery is worth defending. He is not their friend. They are not his cleaners. He is a surface with food on it, or a hazard near the door, depending entirely on where he puts his feet. They are a meal, an alarm, and a wall, depending on the same thing. Nothing out here is an alliance or a war. It is the same relationship, measured in different places. Move 30 feet and the sign flips. Neither animal notices the moment it does. In 11 days, the first real rain will come. The wallow will fill, the flat will go green, and the short new grass he kneels for will be everywhere at once. The mongoose mound will take water, and the troop will move to an aardvark hole 200 yards north. It will be one of the 11. It will be one he uses. He will arrive at dusk, back up to the entrance, and find 22 animals already inside it. Nobody knows yet how that one goes. It has never mattered enough for either of them to settle it. He is asleep by 7, wedged into a tube of dirt with his knives pointing at the only way in. 140 yards away, 22 small predators he ran from this morning are asleep in a mound he will walk past tomorrow without a glance. Between the 2 holes, there is a strip of bare red earth where, at about 8:10, he will lie down and close his eyes again. He will not remember that they chased him. They will not remember that they fed on him. That is not forgiveness. That is the only way a deal this good survives contact with either of their memories. In 11 days, the rain decides who gets the hole. Neither of them will turn up to negotiate, because neither of them can. They will both just arrive at dusk, and whoever is already inside will win.